1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Welcome everyone to the morning announcements. I'ma say my name so you can pronounce it. Bomani Armah. Shout out to early risers, I see who you are. My morning ritual, thanks for having me over. Start with audiovisual, dose of Sankofa. My favorite occasions a few moons away. I'm counting rotations to watermelon day. If you're with me this morning, I hope that you're with it. 2 things that I want and 3 ways to get it. Black solidarity, African independence. Honor the ancestors, prepare descendants. 3rd thing you gotta do is love right now. I mean that in every sense and every way you know how. Now throw them up and say what should increase on 1, 2, 3, peace.
Alright, let's do the mic.
Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, mic check. Welcome to the morning announcements with Bomani Armah on Tuesday, February the 21st, 2023. I am Bomani Armah. We are 165 days away from Watermelon Day at Sankofa. We are here to honor the ancestors, prepare the descendants, and love right now. Friends, please help me break the algorithm, pass along some positivity, get that RBG energy. Join my email list at notarapper.com. All right, friends, let's go ahead and get started with today's libation. Today's libation is for Louis Stokes, February 23rd, 1925 to August 18th, 2015. An American attorney, civil rights pioneer, and politician, he served 15 terms in the United States House of Representatives, representing the east side of Cleveland, and was the first African-American congressman elected in the state of Ohio. He was one of the Cold War-era chairmen of the House of Intelligence Committee, headed the Congressional Black Caucus, and was the first African-American on the House Appropriations Committee. In the 1970s, Stokes served as the chairman of the House Select Committee on Assassinations, charged with investigating the murders of President John F. Kennedy and civil rights leader Martin Luther King Jr. Here's a quote from Louis Stokes. "The law will never keep up with the machinations of the human mind." Louis Stokes. Let me read that again. "The law will never keep up with the machinations of the human mind." Louis Stokes. I learn something every time I look up one of these ancestors. Mr. Stokes is known for being on the committee that investigated the assassination of Dr. King. I can imagine the pressure he was under. I can only imagine how this quote was inspired from the investigations he had to perform as part of that committee. This country is amazing at finding its way around its lofty words and carved in stone laws. From slavery to Jim Crow to redlining in the prison industrial complex, the machinations of this nation has kept us in its vice. The law seems to catch up just decades later. Thanks for this quote, Louis Stokes. Let's pour a libation for Louis Stokes. We never forget, so never fear. For homies who ain't here, we pouring out a beer. Because of you, it'll never be the same. We keep saying your name while we pour champagne. For the mothers and the father figures, your flames still flickers, we pouring out some liquor. We're the sons and the daughters of heroes and martyrs. Honor you by pouring out some water. Friends, thank you very much for supporting Baba Bomani and the libation we do every morning. This morning's libation was for one Mr. Louis Stokes. All right, friends. So let me talk to you about the project that you can get anywhere you stream music. That is my first children's album called Baba Got Bars. You definitely want to go check that out. There's a link in the description. I'm going to play for you one of the songs from that project. It's a project that's part of my overall project called the Frederick Douglass Writing Club. And in the part of the Frederick Douglass Writing Club, I love to tell the story of how Frederick Douglass learned how to read. That I tell that story with this track called Fit to Be a Slave. This is Frederick Douglass's own words, remixed into a hip hop style to explain how he learned how to read. Friends, here comes Fit to Be a Slave. Baba Bomani, BabaGatBars.com. What's the most you've ever gone through to learn? Have I read stolen books under candles that burn? Sounding out the hard words as the pages turn? Trying to stay quiet as your stomach churns from hunger? Have you ever wondered when you were younger if you never taught your letters and your numbers? Could only read when those who guarded you slumber. If you did, you'd be chased by overseers and slave hunters. What if reading was against the law, and all your mental capabilities stayed unused and raw? No books to read, no pencil and paper to draw. Would you hide your eyes from every word that you saw? Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Born in 1820s in Hillsborough, Maryland. As an African, he was never treated like a man. Like controlled when he was sleeping, drinking, and eating. He saw his relatives sold away and his aunt beaten. As a young child, separated from his mother, grew up as his master's child, but not like a brother, more like a pet. But more than most slaves expect, some things his young master got, young Frederick forget. That included lessons like learning the ABCs. He would sit with his young master as he would learn to read. His young master's mother was Frederick's mistress. He learned his letters with her assistance. Frederick soaked it all in like all children. He was curious. When her husband found out, he was so furious. Told her not to teach him, and the reason that he gave, a slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Frederick said at the time that he didn't know what that meant, but from that day on, that's how his free time was spent. He stole his master's old homework and finished tests with fat white boys in the street who can spell their words the best. They always beat him, but they didn't think of this. Every word they beat him with, he would add it to his list. When he was older, Frederick stole so many books. He hid them where he slept to stay away from master's looks. He learned about freedom and about places far away. Yeah, he knew that his slavery was nowhere to stay. When he learned to read, he also learned to write. He knew he couldn't get out of slavery without a fight, unless he got a letter from his master. He's a prisoner, so he learned how to write a pass and forge a signature. Now he understood his master's reasons that he gave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. When Frederick read confirmed what he knew all along, that freedom is for everyone and slavery is wrong. His reading and writing game was superhero strong. He had so many accomplishments, they need their own songs. Before I make those tracks, let me make one observation. The key to Frederick's freedom was that he stole his education. Didn't have the first through 12, so we learned it all with stealth. Didn't care what master felt, reading gave him knowledge of self. So just like Frederick, read at every opportunity. And unlike Frederick, you got help in your community. The more ideas you have, the more likely you'll succeed. You gotta read, and books can give you all the ideas you need. From the dictionary to history, it's necessary. You gotta read. Now follow me to the library. Frederick used the skill to make sure his people were saved, because no one in the world is fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Young Frederick, he was smart and he was brave, because for him to read was to misbehave. Supposed to be illiterate from the cradle to the grave. A slave who can read isn't fit to be a slave. Friends, that was Fit to Be a Slave from my first children's album called Baba Gap Bars. Definitely go check that out. There's a link in the description that'll give you more information about that. Now let's go to tonight's book. Yesterday I introduced tonight's book. It was actually a gift to my son, my newborn Juali. Someone gave him a gift to go along with my daughter's gift, and they decided the book was a great gift, and they know me well. That book is called Black, The Many Wonders of My World. All right, we've been reading this. We've read this twice. I've read this to my daughter. My son's read this to my daughter. We're gonna read it a few more times. We're gonna break it down. We're gonna give you some honest reviews. I'm having fun reading this book. Let me read to you a couple of pages of it. I really appreciate the illustrations, and I appreciate the similes that are really easy for a young reader to grasp. Let me set this up for you. Friends, this book is called Black, The Many Wonders of My World. All right, let's see what we got here. Let me switch this up. Boom. Move these cables out the way. I'm sorry. Still getting the hang of this. All right. So here we go. Black is a wonderful color. Black is every color. Black is special. It is true. It's the sky when the morning is new. Some people think black is scary or sad. Some say black is heavy and bad. I look at my world inside and out. I see black treasures all about. Black is a wonderful color. Black is the sky on starry nights. My eyes are black. They are clear and bright. Friends, this was a few pages from Black, The Many Wonders of My World, written by Nancy Johnson, illustrated by Constance Moore. This has been the book that we're reading for the week. This is our book for tonight. Thank y'all very much for supporting this. I appreciate that. All right, friends. Remember, we are only, what are we now? 165 days 165 days away from Watermelon Day. Make sure you check out the album, The Watermelon Man. The link is in the description. Find more information about that at my website, notarapper.com. It also leads you to my new EP called The Big Slice. We have the watermelon merch available, which helps me fund my favorite party every year, Watermelon Day. Get your watermelon flag apparel. Also, make sure you check out Terrell Arts DC. They created these wonderful collage paintings of these little girls eating watermelon, which is the spirit of this entire event. So thank you very much for that, family, for believing in what we're doing with the Watermelon Day. We have a whole bunch of artists that contribute on a regular basis to Watermelon Day, and I'm gonna make sure to highlight them over the next 160 days as we get close to this. Friends, I only have one more thing left to do, and that is the Black National Anthem by J. Rosamond Johnson and James Weldon Johnson. Lift every voice and sing. Give me one moment to set up this camera, and we're gonna have some fun with this. Here we go. Here comes the Black National Anthem. Friends, that was the Black National Anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing by James Weldon Johnson and J. Rosamond Johnson. That completes our program for today. I really appreciate y'all tuning in to the morning announcements. There are 3 things I need you to do today. I need you to honor the ancestors, prepare the descendants, and love right now. At the count of 3, everybody say peace, throw up the deuces, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Peace.
Hold it now, melon is sweet, the water is life. So every time we meet, I'ma give you a slice, cause I'm the watermelon man. I'm the watermelon man. I got the juice and plant the seeds. I reap the fruit and give you what you need, cause I'm the watermelon man. I'm the watermelon man. It's the watermelon man, reppin' red, black, and green. The county of PG sends you greetings from D.